The following podcast is brought to you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at WrestlingWithJohners.com.
What's up, everyone? DDJ here, along with the Hot One, Jay Minacho. Unfortunately, the premier Joey K will not be joining us tonight, as we could not pull him away from his TV because he has been constantly watching the debut of one Jay Lethal in AEW over and over and over and over again. So we're just letting him have his fun and stuff, but hopefully we'll be able to pull him away for next week's episode. But me and the Hot One, we're gonna hold it down. So ladies and gentlemen, this is Shooting Shit. I just gotta have a reason to play the beep every once in a while. So,
what is wrong with you, dude?
I start piling on the investment money.
hey everyone, we are back with another episode of Shooting Shit. This is episode number 12. And joining me, as always, is my co-host, my partner in crime, the Hot One, Jay Minacho. Again, Joey K is watching Jay Lethal's AEW debut for about the millionth time. So, Hot One, how you doing tonight, buddy?
It's a beautiful Sunday night. I mean, I think our fans already know where my football allegiance is. And when you do that, what we did today, I haven't stopped smiling.
The one good thing about my team being on a bye is that they can't lose. Well, if Matt Nagy's coaching team, he could find a way to lose during the bye week.
Dude, I feel like Joey K watching Jay Lethal's best of right now, getting ready for Wednesday night.
Man, it's going to be a banger. And we're going to get into that a little bit later. But wrestling fans out there listening, if you were, you probably watched Full Gear last night or saw the results, and let's just get right into it with our first topic. Thoughts on Full Gear. Hot One, what'd you think?
You know, I love the AEW fan base because the AEW fan base is always 110% behind the product. They've, best pay-per-view of the year. It's the best thing we've ever seen. And I'm not going to deflate air out of the tires a lot, but I will put it this way. Full Gear, hell of a show. Every match was really well worked. Some of the endings were a little wonky, a little weird, but on the whole, it was a solid 7 show, 7, maybe 8 show.
Yeah, very, very, very great show. I mean, I think we as AEW fans have come to expect a great show, a great pay-per-view every time, but TK always seems to find a way to not only meet our expectations, but to far exceed them. Because, I mean, we always seem to get great action, great storytelling, lots of, oohs and ahs, and always get a little, he always manages to sneak in a surprise or two. And we definitely got one with a certain debut of one of the greatest Ring of Honor wrestlers of all time. And again, we'll be getting into that a little bit later. But for me, I loved it. There wasn't a match that I would say that was really bad. I enjoyed every match. I think just about every match served its purpose and stuff. But I mean, I'd say a solid 7 is probably a good way to go. I mean, you had that opener with MJF and Darby Allin, and they almost went like 30 minutes or something, didn't they?
It was almost 30 minutes, and it was like, okay, I've been not 100% behind MJF because I think he lacks a little in ring.
Mm-hmm.
But with that match, the way, his ring work was, his mat work was, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was one of the first times that I enjoyed an MJF match.
And the ironic thing about that is he called his finish. He said he would beat Darby Allin with a headlock takeover, and albeit under some dubious circumstances, that is exactly what he did. So I definitely don't think we've seen the end of that feud, and I'm definitely okay with it if they have another match that was on the level of the one we just saw. I mean, just again, overall, the crowd has always seemed into it.
Yep.
And it just seems like to me, these AEW crowds are so reminiscent of like an old school ECW crowd.
Right.
And that, so I mean, so we're gonna get a little bit. Let's get steer away from thoughts on Full Gear, and let's get a little bit more of like your personal preference. Hot One, what was your favorite match from Full Gear?
Man, it's hard to pick. You know what? Favorite match? I'm leaning between two. One of them will be the MJF match I just discussed. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The storytelling was great. The match work was great. Darby was great. Insane bumps he takes. But you know what? Match of the night for me, I'll pick a dark horse. Match of the night, Tay Conti versus Britt Baker.
Gee, I wonder why you're picking Tay Conti.
Completely different reasons.
Yeah,
It's
are we
because
getting an old school Jorge Conti
you know what? I haven't got one on him in months. He's probably forgot about me. But what he hasn't forgot about is at night when he sleeps next to his wife that he knows is my future wife. Sorry, Jorge. Forget about it. She'll leave you soon. He knows that he doesn't have enough heat to beat the Hot One. He knows in his heart of hearts that his Brazilian jiu-jitsu cannot match the Thug Street style of the Hot One. So Jorge Conti, count your days. Because when shooters go wild and the shooting club takes over worldwide, we're coming for you, buddy.
These statements are directly from the Hot One, Jay Minacho, and not indicative or reflective of the views of anybody else on this show. This is I'm not getting involved in this. If anything, I want to if anybody out there, one John Scott, head of the Johners Podcasting Network's listening, he's got some connections, man. If we ever get a circus wrestling show or his honor circus or whatever the stuff he does, or hell with that, if they ever do Talking Shop-A-Mania 3, Johners Podcasting Network, please put some money down. Let's sponsor the Hot One versus Jorge Conti, with the winner getting the rights to be with Tay Conti.
I'd be all in. I would do training montages for the shooting club out here. Everybody will be out there with our flags. It'll be great.
So what was it? Okay, so you've made your choice of Baker versus Tay, which I will agree is a great one, and it really shows how far Tay has come in her time in AEW. She's improved leaps and bounds and is really showing, much like a lot of these other athletes have shown, WWE made a mistake by letting her go. But what was it about the match that made you decide to go with it for your match of the night?
So it's something that actually was pointed out to me when a friend of mine asked a question about it, and I noticed that they were right. We were talking in one of the chats, and someone said, was the women's title match the only match that had like elaborate entrances? And I started thinking about it, and I said, yeah.
No, I think the tag team title match, Phoenix and the Lucha Brothers had a nice little entrance there. But yeah, I mean both. I don't think FTR got a elaborate entrance, but yeah, both competitors in the women's title match got really cool entrances.
So it kind of like set the tone there for that match. They made it a big deal with the come out. And Tay Conti with the war paint across the eyes, man, I thought she was going in, and for the life of me throughout this match, I was like, holy crap, she could actually win this. She might win this. And you know, the match itself was great. One or two small spots in it. You know, it's not nothing I'm going to kill him over.
Mm-hmm.
Rebel, Reba, and Hater playing, their parts well. I thought it was just an overall really good match. Great storytelling. I couldn't find anything, that bad with it. I thoroughly was entertained.
All right, good choice, and nice way of speaking to your pick there. For me, it was a little. Wasn't as hard as I anticipated it being. But I mean, there was still. I mean, you almost could pick any match on this card. Pick almost any match on this card, and really, well, you could say whatever you want. Technically, not be wrong because it's your opinion and stuff. We're not like certain others out there who like to say if you don't agree with their opinion, you're not like college educated, or I should say college educated. And
we're not going to tell you if you don't like it. We've got 2 words for you.
Yeah, but anyways, though, you speak to your opinions, and I definitely respect that. But for me, I got to go with that 6-man. The Super Click versus the Jurassic Express and Christian Cage. And again, I mean, you could. I was almost going to go with Kingston versus Punk, which was really good.
Oh, that was so good.
Especially with Kingston getting that backhand in right at the beginning, and I'm thinking, oh man, he's gonna steal it.
Yep. Dude, and Punk got color in that match. When I was watching the match with my mom, she popped out. She was like, "Oh my god, he's busted open." I'm like, "Yes."
Well, he's not the only one that got color. Adam Cole got some serious color in this match here. Yeah, but also, too, the World Heavyweight Championship match was good. I mean, we talked about MJF and Darby Allin. I mean, literally every match on that card was. I mean, Miro versus Danielson was really good. I mean,
good storytelling from a person that he'd never beaten, so that was a good match.
Yeah, but it's just for me. I got to go with that 6-man because I mean, it had great storytelling, great action. It had everybody got to steal a line from Brian Cage. Everybody got their shit in. And I mean, there were tons and tons of false finishes on both sides.
Dude,
I mean, there was.
I love thumbtacks. The thumbtacks in the mouth was amazing.
Yeah, and I was thinking, no, they're not going to do it. And then when they did their, where they go back and forth and they kiss him on the cheek, and I'm thinking, okay, that was just a T. And then they went ahead and did it, and it's just wow. And then just the stuff on the ramp playing the stage, like Cage spearing. I think it was one of the Bucks off the stage.
Yeah.
And just the moves. I think Luchasaurus hit a shooting star press at some point in that match. I mean, and then just you can clearly tell in this match that this was used, and they've been doing this a lot lately. Is they're really building up Jungle Boy. Like he's got potential. He may have a TNT title run. Hell, he's gonna be in the world title picture in the next couple of years. I mean, we've talked about that in past episodes and stuff, but just from everything from just the athleticism to the super kicks to, the color that Adam Cole got and just the action going all over the place. And
I love it when they get into crowds because if it's a false count anywhere, I need to see it in the crowd for a minute.
And I really, one of the things I really liked in that match was they tried it once at some point during the match where Christian wanted Jungle Boy to do a concerto. I believe it was on Matt Jackson, as payback for the one, from Dynamite. And he just couldn't bring himself to do it. And I think, oh man, that's gonna wind up costing them the match, and it almost did. But then at the end, they did it on the rampway or the entrance way, and this time Jungle Boys was like, I got this, and he did it, and that was it. And it just, oh my god, it was just such a beautiful story that unfolded, and just again,
he matured in match, dude. In match, he matured. That was amazing.
Yeah, it's so amazing that it's just all and these guys are all young. Like they all got so much more time left in the business. I mean, and we've talked about this before too. How awesome has Christian Cage been since he's been in AEW?
He's killing it. He hasn't lost a step.
He really hasn't. I mean, and it just makes you wonder, why, Was he really? And I think this was kind of, said about Daniel Bryan during his absence from WWE. I mean, was Christian really injured enough to the point where they couldn't clear him, or they just didn't want to clear him?
Right. Did he get too old for them to be like, yeah, we're not going to use you anymore?
And it's just, and again, it's just it just boggles the mind how WWE, like the writing staff, the agents, Vince, and just everybody. How could they miss the ball so often? Because I mean, like you said, Cage has not lost a step. In fact, I think this is. I might go out on a limb and say this is the best solo work he's done, probably since his time in TNA when he was the NWA World Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah, easily. That's the last time I thought his singles run has looked this good is back in TNA.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable. I just you get the thumbtacks and just everything, and it's just, man, it's just what a story, and it's just the Super Click did not look weak in defeat, but no. The Jurassic Express and Christian Cage looked great in victory, and it's just how good was Jungle Boy in that match?
Right, it was a coming out party for him. For someone who's already had a couple of matches that were his coming out party. He matured into something else this match.
And another thing that I really liked about this match was with and this is why the commentary in AEW is so good. They pointed out when the Bucks and Cole came out, like, these guys don't look like they're dressed for a street fight.
Yeah.
But then you see Cage come out and then Jungle Boy come out. They looked ready they were dressed for a street fight. Jungle
jeans.
Boy. Yeah, they had the jeans on and stuff. Dinosaurs can't wear jeans, so Luchasaurus, we get it and stuff, but it's just, we did a little, and we'll be bringing this segment back hopefully in the next episode or two. Underrated, overrated, and we talked about big men. I really think this match shows just in how underrated Luchasaurus is, and when it comes to big men, because when people talk about like, the current crop of big men and who's like, the best amongst them, you don't really hear a lot of people talking about Luchasaurus. And I think this match showed just how good he is.
Right. And it's crazy because he's been doing this for a while. Like, we've seen Luchasaurus do kick-ups. We've seen Luchasaurus do the standing backflip. But it's just, for him putting it all together in the match and then hitting the shooting star press, you're like, holy crap, this big dude can move.
Yeah. Yeah, so all right. So moving on, we alluded to it before. This is the reason why Joey K is not doing this show with us tonight and stuff. But we had one surprise debut. Again, as always, we seem to get at these shows. We got four of them at All In. We got the four of them at All Out. We only got one at Full Gear. But what a pickup! What a get for All Elite Wrestling. And that is, if you're not watching this on YouTube, going across the bottom of the screen, Jay Lethal is All Elite. In our little show chat that we have, we were discussing this. You had and I'm going to let you speak to this little theory you have and stuff, but I mean, were you shocked to see Jay Lethal show up last night?
I was. I think when we did our draft, you nailed it, Jay Lethal to Impact, and that made the most sense for Jay Lethal. But I was kind of surprised to see him in AEW because there's not the AEW fan base, it's an eclectic fan base. These are a lot of people who've either fallen out of wrestling, have came back. These are people who may be new to wrestling. So I don't know if the fan base knew a Jay Lethal.
And one of the things I also said to kind of harken back to our draft special, which was episode, it started on episode 10, which you can watch on YouTube or get it wherever you get your podcast from and stuff. But I mentioned Impact, but I did say I would not be surprised to see him show up in AEW because he deserves to get a chance in a major company. And it was awesome to see. But go back to what you were saying.
So yeah, with that, with Jay Lethal being, he's a name. If you're a wrestling fan, more than likely you're gonna know Jay Lethal because Black Machismo was super over in TNA. Then when he started doing Truth and Consequences, he started doing the what was it, Book of Truth with Truth Martini.
Yep.
The
Foundation
and ROH, and that's kind of my thing there. With ROH, the fans may not be real deep into ROH knowledge, or at least ROH fandom. The AEW fans, because like I said, a lot of them could be very new wrestling fans who don't really know everything that's out there. And my thought process is maybe that's a reason why we see a guy like Jay Lethal making his debut at All Out, or not All Out, excuse me, Full Gear, instead of the one that we're all waiting for, and that's Jonathan Gresham. Because I don't think Gresham walks out there to the same effect as Jay Lethal right now.
I agree.
But
go into your little theory. Let's give our fans and our shooters here a little bit of a peek behind the curtain. You came up with or someone came, one of us came, or was either you or Joey K came up with a little list or something. You want to do a little bit of talking about that?
A little list. Let me see. I'm thinking on it. You got to refresh my mind, man. I've slept since then.
What about guys too that were rumored to have been picked up from ROH by Tony Khan?
So there was the list, and that's what me and Joey K were talking about, between him doing his Black Machismo impressions up and down the streets of Philadelphia and hitting the lethal injection on every single person he could see. We were talking about the list that was rumored from ROH that AEW had picked up. And this was as soon as ROH was, fully stated that they're releasing people, that they're going to let the, talent basically out of their contracts. There was this list that dropped that AEW had picked up Jay Lethal, Jonathan Gresham, Brody King, and the Briscoes. But nobody knows if that list is real or not. And so we kind of got the inkling that maybe this list is actually valid when Jay Lethal made his debut.
Yeah, so I mean, again, it was really nice to see the reaction he got when he came out, because it seemed like the majority of the fans that were in attendance were pretty happy to see Jay Lethal wind up in All Elite Wrestling.
I'll put it this way. I have friends who went to see the show in theaters. When they mentioned that Ishii will be on Dynamite, maybe one or two people. That's your hardcore fans that knew New Japan. They know who Ishii is. They popped. But when Jay Lethal came out, everybody popped.
Yeah, it was just unreal. And I mean, Jay Lethal's an amazing talent, and obviously coming up tomorrow night, because our show always drops on Tuesday, he's going to be challenging Sammy Guevara for the TNT Championship. So it'd be a great way to get introduced to get the AEW fans who maybe have not had a chance to see Jay Lethal in action, kind of let him show what he's capable of doing, because I fully expect Lethal versus Guevara to be what we like to call a banger.
Yes, sir. What a better way, though, because they pretty much said it without saying it on the show, that the Open Challenge is back for the TNT title.
Yep.
What a way to bring some of these guys in. The Brody Kings, the Jonathan Greshams, the same way that we brought in people that everybody may not have known, as in the War Horses, the Eddie Kingstons. I mean, what Tony Khan has done with the TNT Open Challenge really is giving that forbidden door and blowing it off the hinges to AEW.
It really has, because I mean, we're seeing all this crossover, and I mean, and it sounds like and we'll discuss this a little bit later, with the New Japan stuff, but it seems like from all reports are indicating that this AEW New Japan relationship is really getting to be a strong one. So, who knows what we'll be seeing down the line? Like you said, we see, Orange Cassidy is now officially a part of Chaos. And Tomohiro Ishii is going to be tagging with Orange Cassidy on Dynamite. So, And if you guys haven't seen Ishii, who you guys are in for a treat because that man is a thick guy, but man, he can go.
Oh yeah.
He can
I think
go.
he was a stone pit bull. The dude's a
Yeah.
monster.
Yep, that's his moniker, the Stone Pitbull. So our next topic here is something that we've been wanting to discuss on our show over the last couple of weeks, but with the Ring of Honor stuff and a few other things, just kind of push this one back out of necessity. But we're gonna bring this in now, and this next topic is kind of coming off the heels of what we saw a couple weeks ago during the championship ceremony exchange on SmackDown, where Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch exchanged their women's titles because Charlotte Flair was drafted to SmackDown and Becky Lynch was drafted to Raw, and it went a little awry when the women wanted to were supposed to hand the belts off to each other, and it led to some commotion backstage. And news coming out of this is that these two who were once part of the Four Horsewomen and were very close, especially because they've gone through the ranks of the WWE from their time in NXT to the beginning of the women's revolution, and these two literally came up through the business at the same time, and that's the whole thing with Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch. But there's so many of these rivalries that that happen in real life in pro wrestling that get brought into the ring to tell a story, because a lot of times these real life rivalries mean money. And Hot One, your favorite or best real life rivalry turn storyline?
I'm going to do us a favor, shooting gallery, to all my shooters out there in the shooting club. I'm going to toss out the easy one. So DDJ has to think deep into the annals of wrestling history. I'm making Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart unavailable for this question.
Oh, I've already got one, so you can.
All right. So we're throwing Shawn and Bret out there. Everybody knows about the screw job. Everybody knows the real hatred that was actually there between them two. No need to bore everybody with stuff you know. Now, for me, it's always good when the rivalry is a rivalry because of a lady. You throw a lady in the mix, oh man, it turns everything up to 10. Emotions are real. You start laying in everything a little bit harder. You might pull out that extra big boot that lands a little bit too much on the chin. So you start thinking about it. What real rivalries really revolved around women? Well, Hogan Savage, because Randy thought there was something with Hogan and Miss Elizabeth.
Yep.
You have Benoit and Kevin Sullivan, which, of course, with woman.
Yep.
But mine, because it played out almost entirely on TV, is Matt Hardy and Edge over Lita.
That was the one I was thinking of, but I got a backup one. So
oh yes, I'm taking this.
So I'm going to do what you like to do when someone
see, and mostly because most of the times when I come up with a good one, I'll hold on to just one or two, and I'm like, yeah, no one's going to think about this one. So when you guys hit on it, I'm like, oh, you bastards. But Hardy and Lita, back from Team Extreme, they got a little bit close, and they started being a little bit more than just on screen. And then here comes Edge, and Edge has always been that character figure, I guess you could say, the rated R superstar who took it there with Lita in a couple of events. They had the live sexcapades that one time on Raw, which, God bless the Attitude Era. But when you get down into them feuding over Lita and it actually being real, Lita leaves Matt for Edge. And then you start, finding out on the dirt sheets. And this was back before the dirt sheets were as big as they really are today. There were maybe one or two small websites that had some inside knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And you start finding out that, holy crap, Edge really did take Lita from Matt Hardy. And then, somebody in the back was like, that's a hell of a story. Let's run with it. And then it just makes everything that you saw from the Team Extreme versus Edge and Christian, because Matt Hardy's trying to win her back, to Edge just throwing it out in his face. Here's Lita, look at her, and I got her, and it's just, dude, it just makes it that much better.
That's a good one. So that was one that I had in mind. You could also throw out Ric Flair and Mick Foley. I mean, because they had a couple of really good matches in 2006. I mean, there are just so many out there that you brought up. Hogan and Savage. You could also, there's just so many you could go with out there and stuff. But for me, I'm going to go with one that really, I think, produced one of the greatest rivalries that Impact Wrestling has ever seen.
Ooh.
I'm going to go with Kurt Angle and one Jeff Jarrett.
Beautiful.
And for those of you who, aren't up to speed on the history of, TNA/Impact Wrestling, I think it was, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it was like 2011, 2012, something like that. And there was a story that had come out that Jeff Jarrett was sent home for unknown reasons at the time, but it came out that eventually is that he began having a relationship with Kurt Angle's ex-wife Karen while they were still married. And anytime that you see that kind of stuff, especially in the wrestling business, it gets real personal real quickly.
Oh,
you mentioned Benoit and Sullivan, and there are some people out there that still think that Sullivan had something to do with what happened. If you're watching, if you're not watching this on YouTube, Jovan was raising his hand that he's one of them, and it wouldn't surprise me. But man, though, it got real personal. But these two guys, credit to their professionalism. They went out there and they turned this into just a great storyline with some great action, and just they made some money out of it because they helped Impact make some money out of it. It was really real, but at the same time, these matches were fights. They were great, great action, and it's just I thought this was. Because you mentioned Edge and Matt Hardy. Obviously, we threw Brett and Shawn out because that's like
the feud from all time.
Right. But I mean, and you know what? Actually, we're going to throw a little bit of a curveball here. Like I said, I'm going out for this question, throwing Brett and Shawn out. Like I said, I'm going with Angle and Jarrett. But let's talk about Brett and Shawn. I mean, this was something where it started out where these two guys were actually friends. Like they got along. They liked working with each other. And then it was like around, I think it was like 96 or something was when it started like going bad. And it was just because, Shawn was just made the champion because Brett was done, or Brett was going off to do a Lonesome Dove, just take some time away. And it's just, it became, Shawn basically got out of control. His ego was running wild. He was, burying talent, left and right, because he protected his spot. And it's just, then he started saying some things about Brett. I believe he was one of the ones that was spreading the rumors about Brett and Sonny, when everybody knows out there that, and we won't go into too graphic detail, but Shawn had something going on with Sonny as well.
There's been a lot of sunny days in the WWF back in the day.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's just these guys, they had such a heated rivalry backstage. I mean, I believe they got into multiple fistfights backstage, and I believe one time Shawn almost walked out on the WWF because of it.
Yep.
How many times was this match supposed to happen? The rematch was supposed to happen before it actually did. Originally, it was supposed to be the main event of WrestleMania 13, I believe, where Shawn was supposed to drop the title back to Brett, but he didn't want to do it. And then that's when they did the whole Shawn lost the smile and everything and that. But you talk about that. I believe they were supposed to go at it at the King of the Ring, but then Brett got injured with his knee and had surgery, so that pushed it off. And then eventually it happened at Survivor Series. And a lot of people don't remember this match was about a brawl for about the first 10, 15 minutes where like they were all over the place. When the bell rang, I think the match went only like something like 7, 8 minutes. It was not a long match once the bell officially rang, and we all know what happened at the end of that match. You know, the Montreal screw job and stuff. But it's just these guys hated each other, but I think they were business minded enough to know that they were like, you know what? I don't like you, you don't like me. They like what they see out there. Let's go make some money.
To a point, I would hope that we could say, yeah, they were probably in the right frame of mind to say, let's use this. People are getting onto it. The fans are going crazy for it. They can see the real tension there. But a part of me just wants to say, no, they just went in there for the chance to get it out of the locker room and take it to the ring.
Mm-hmm. I came back. And it was and the one thing that I love about this rivalry is that they were able to bury the hatchet because they had that episode on Monday Night Raw. I believe it was January 4th, 2010. It was the night Impact decided they wanted to try their hand at, the Monday Night Wars. And it was the first time Brett was on WWF or WWE TV since the night of the screw job. And he came out and he buried the hatchet with Shawn, and that's one of my all-time favorite moments on Raw because these guys, made their peace, and I don't think they're gonna be the best of friends, and I don't think they sit there and will exchange Christmas cards or Christmas gifts and stuff. But it was just so nice to see that they both, because obviously Shawn would go on to take a hiatus, come back. He was a born again Christian. Brett had a lot of health issues, including that stroke that really kind of took him down. And maybe just kind of one of those things where you just realize how precious life is, and it's just you make peace with your enemies because you don't know when your time is up. So it was just a really nice, moment to see that these two, had they got their closure.
Yeah.
So speaking of Survivor Series, it's going to be coming up this coming Sunday night, and this will be the 35th edition of the Survivor Series. And so we're talking about going all the way back to the very first one in 1987. So many teams, so many elimination matches. And we're going to talk a little bit, spend some time talking about Survivor Series. So we got a few questions here we're going to discuss. We have first off, your favorite Survivor Series event, and then your favorite Survivor Series team. And then there were a lot of matches that happened during the Survivor Series that were not elimination matches. And what is your favorite non-elimination match? Let's go with first off, let's go with the Survivor Series event. Jovan, what is your favorite one?
Survivor Series, I think my favorite one of all time, and this is going to be a little funny because it wasn't great by no means. It may not be up there towards some of the best ones that we had, and but for me, all around storyline, I love my Survivor Series matches to have a reason for happening. That's been my big issue with some of them lately is they feel like jumbled up teams with no aim, no reason whatsoever. I want this 5v5 elimination match to have a purpose, to have a meaning. What are we doing this for? So I take you back to 2001, the invasion angle. Team WWE versus Team WCW. You got all the greats in this match. The Rock, Stone Cold, Chris Jericho, Shane McMahon. I'll give Shane a little shine. This was an incredible match. It was a match where basically the life of WCW was at stake. With the win, they'd continue. With the loss, they're gone. And I love it. I love Survivor Series when there's something at stake.
Mm-hmm.
That match had it all. Ian, guys, if you've listened to the podcast before, I'm a major The Rock mark. I'm a mark for The Rock. He was great in this match. Him and Stone Cold.
Hell, The Rock is the reason why he got his ass whooped by his mom one time.
This is very true. I'm sure that I've gotten it more than once for The Rock because of The Rock. But The Rock and Stone Cold, we're talking about rivalries. That's one built on mutual respect and friendship. Those two could go. But that's Survivor Series 2001. That's mine.
That's a good one. For me, much like you, I like my Survivor Series matches to have some kind of meaning behind them. I love the olden days when it was like, guys joining up for a common cause. You would, and it's just, it always was like something to be like, oh yeah, so and so's been added to this team. You watch shows like Superstars and Wrestling Challenge to see who was going to be on whose team and who they were going to go up against, and it's not the stuff that we see now where basically Survivor Series has become a glorified bragging rights show where it's Raw versus SmackDown, where you have teams throwing together and going against each other, and then you have champion versus champion. And
they announced this year's team on Twitter.
Yeah, and they've already, and also too, they've already made changes. I mean, you had Dominic Mysterio replaced by Bobby Lashley. This past week on SmackDown, Sami Zayn lost to Jeff Hardy, and Sami's off the team. Who's going to replace Sami Zayn? And then coming off her debut match on SmackDown where she scored the win for her team, poor Aaliyah, got announced that she was being kicked off the SmackDown Women's Survivor Series team.
After a win.
Yeah. It's just, God. It's just we just come off the fact of talking about how awesome AEW's Full Gear was, and it just goes to show you just where these two companies are just so far apart. Like, because we see, like you said, the teams are being announced via Twitter. There were no qualifying matches. It's just, oh yeah, these guys are going to be on a team. These guys are going to be on a team, and they're already making changes to the team.
Why even put them out there?
Makes no sense. But going back to it, like I said, much like you, I always like the team where there's something on the line or teams meant something. And it's just, for me, I go all the way back to the very beginning. I go back to the very first Survivor Series, 1987. I actually just watched this a couple of days ago, and just in prep for Survivor Series. And it's just because this is where it all started. Survivor Series 87 was the first time since WrestleMania 3 that Hogan and Andre were going to be in the ring against each other, because you had Hogan's team going up against Andre's team. But there was so much more. You had the opening match, which was the Honky Tonk Man, Dangerous Danny Davis, Ron Bass, God, who else was that? Hercules, and who was the other guy? I can't think of the other guy, and it's going to kill me. But you basically had going up against and a majority of these guys on Randy Savage's team wanted the Honky Tonk Man. You had Randy Macho Man Savage coming off the stuff that, Honky Tonk Man did to Elizabeth. You had Jake the Snake Roberts, who lost the Honky Tonk Man at WrestleMania. And you had Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, who Honky Tonk Man took the Intercontinental Championship from. It's just, there was just, again, there's so many intertwining stories in these matches. Also, too, back then, these elimination matches just showed how deep the rosters were for not only, the men, but for the tag teams and the women's roster, because you had a women's, women's 5-on-5 match that had featured such names as Sensational Sherry, Fabulous Moolah, the Jumping Bomb Angels, the Glamour Girls, Sherry Martel, who is, when it comes to women's wrestling and managerial, being as a manager, Sensational Sherry gets nowhere near the love she deserves to get. But then you also had the big 10 tag team match where you had 5 tag teams against 5 tag teams. Literally, you had your entire tag team division featured in a match. I mean, you had Strike Force, the Killer Bees, the Bulldogs, going up against a team that had teams like the Hart Foundation, Demolition, the Islanders. You had the British Bull. I mean, it's just literally every single tag team that was, on the roster was in this match. And yeah, it was maybe not the greatest idea in the world, but it went to show you just how deep it was. And then you had the main event. You had Hogan and Andre were on opposite ends. You had, Rick Rude and Paul Orndorff, who were in a feud. You had Don Morocco, who was stepping up for superstar Billy Graham on one end. You had Butch Reed on the other end. Then you had King Kong Bundy and the one-man gang. And then you had Ken Patera, who was just making his return to the WWF after spending some time behind bars. And let's see, and then you had Bam Bam Bigelow, who was, I believe at the time, he had just made his debut in the WWF, or he was still relatively new to the scene. But it's just, you had, again, so many intertwining stories. And everybody got featured, you know. You had Hogan and Andre. When were they going to finally clash? And they did, and the crowd went crazy. Then you had, you know, Bam Bam Bigelow, who really kind of made a name for himself because a lot of people may not realize this, but Bam Bam Bigelow was the last man standing for his team. I mean, obviously Andre ended up winning, but Hogan was not the last guy on his team. He was counted out. Bam Bam Bigelow actually was by himself against Andre, Bundy, and the gang. And he got it all the way down to just him and Andre. And just by the time he just had ran out of gas, you know, Andre was just too much for him and got the win. But then you had Hogan come out, took out Andre to send everybody home happy. And it's just, to me, Survivor Series, it just, the first one, in my opinion, was the best one. And while 2001 was a really good one, for me, one that holds a special place in my heart was 1991, because that was the first Survivor Series I watched. But I mean, it's just, I have not seen a Survivor Series event that I've enjoyed more than the very first one.
Nice.
So we talked about the teams of 4, the teams of 5 striving to survive. And there were some really good teams that were formed out of this. And I'm going to ask you, which of the teams out there was your favorite?
My favorite team. I kind of toggle back and forth on this because it for me, like, what makes a team? Does it have to be all 5? Can it be the case of the Big Show, who to me I think is an unsung hero of the Survivor Series?
Mm-hmm.
I'll take a full team.
All right.
This team went with a 5-on-0 sweep of the team they were facing. The team they defeated, Edge, Randy Orton, John Morrison, was on that team. But this was the DX reunion group.
Oh, you're killing me, Smalls.
No. DX, the Hardys, and this young kid who started coming out in 2005 to the WWE crowds out of the ECW brand, CM Punk.
Man, all the teams out there, and you had to take the one I had in my mind. You know what? I'm not going to change my pick. I'm going to go with this one as well, too.
There you go.
Because it was just, for that. I mean, and this team provided so many just great and funny moments in this match. You had the whole, CM Punk doing the "Are you ready?" shtick. Right away after the match started, Mike Knox got super kicked and pinned, and Triple H and Shawn, and they were like, "Wait, who was that?" I just thought that was hilarious. And then, you like you mentioned, you talk about the clean sweep, and they went through everybody. But just some other teams out there that I really liked over the years. I mentioned Hogan's team from the 1987 Survivor Series. It was Hogan, Bam Bam Bigelow, Paul Orndorff, Ken Patera, and Hogan. It was Hogan. And Don Morocco. You had them. Then one of my favorite teams that I liked was from 91. It was Ric Flair, Ted DiBiase, the Mountie, and the Warlord. My friend Patrick is a huge fan of the Visionaries team from 1990, who was the first team to do a clean sweep, and that was the model Rick Martel, the Warlord, in Power and Glory. Both talked about the DX, the Hardys and Punk, but I mean, there were a lot of really good teams out there that were made for some memorable matches and just some memorable teams, and it was fun. But I hate you right now, but I respect you because you and I are kind of on the same wavelength here with who we picked for that. So one more thing, one more topic to discuss here, and I'm going to let you take the lead on this because you're our resident New Japan guy. last couple of days have been pretty busy for New Japan here, and there's lots of news to discuss. So, Hot One, take it away.
New Japan Wrestling right now is all the news. Keep an ear open on the ground, and you'll hear rumblings of everything that's happened since Saturday night. From both AEW announcing the arrival of Ishii to Dynamite to tag team with Orange Cassidy, which we spoke of earlier in the podcast, to New Japan getting a debut with them. The former Bronson Reed from the NXT brand is in New Japan. He absolutely made a force. Now going by the name of Jonah, was it Rock?
Yeah, which is, I believe, is what he was using before he went to NXT.
So Jonah Rock is here. I think they said he's going to have his first scheduled match Monday, which will be this Friday's Strong.
Mm-hmm.
He came in and he looked like a beast real quick, made a quick little impact and left. Kind of just let everybody know he's here. He looked good. I still can't believe that NXT dropped him. I thought there's plenty of miles left on him.
If NXT 2.0 isn't happening, he's still there.
Yeah, has to be. Because, I mean, he was in the middle of being called up. He was working dark matches.
Yep.
So he makes no sense. Actually, no sense. More New Japan news. We'll go with one of the big ones first. A guy who was just on the High Spots virtual gimmick table. The one and only. Well, he was on the Sign It Live. Jay the Switchblade White lost his title to Ishii, the Neverweight Open title. I believe going into the match, Jay White had a stipulation that if Ishii didn't beat him, he could never challenge for the title again. Of course, when that happens, 9 times out of 10, you're dropping that belt. Jay White dropped the belt. Right after that, we had a proclamation made by the United Imperium, or was it the Imperial...
United Empire.
The United Empire, there we go. It's something like that. The United Empire's own, the real NJPW champion.
That's right.
Will Ospreay said, that's cool, that's cute. I'll let Okada and Shingo Takagi fight for the belt at the first night of Wrestle Kingdom. But whoever wins out of that, the second night, you get me, the real IWGP champion. So a lot of things happening in New Japan right now. He's going to go out there. He's exerting his dominance. He's making everybody know that he is the real champion. The never belt's open right now with Ishii. Will he use it to turn it in for a shot? Will he hold it and defend it? We don't, we'll see what happens. But there's a lot of things going on right now, man.
Yeah, and I really liked seeing Jonah Rock show up. I felt like him going to New Japan was probably the best move for him, and I think he's gonna be a star for New Japan, and especially in the States. And then if and when eventually he goes over to compete in Japan, I mean, I think him and Cobb would put on some just tremendous matches. Or
that'd be a beast of a match.
Or hell, just imagine if they decided to put Jonah Rock with the United Empire and have him tag with Cobb.
That'll be like a modern day freaking Demolition, just big guys.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be down for that.
Unstoppable. And then also, too, I believe this is old news, but Wrestle Kingdom is actually going to be 3 nights this year. January 4th, 5th, and then I think the third night's like a couple weeks later or something like that?
Yep.
And but yeah, that was really huge news that, Ospreay's coming back over to Japan to claim the title that he never officially lost. He had it taken away from because of an injury. I believe, isn't he still the Ref Pro champion?
Yep.
Yeah, so he still has, which was the top championship in England. So, only time will tell. Ospreay's been going around, claiming that he's the real New Japan World Heavyweight Champion. I think Hot One and myself are both in agreement that is the case. He never was beaten for the title. Okada versus Shingo should be a banger of a match and should be a great way to cap off night one. But yeah, like I said, it don't get easier. You got less than 24 hours to rest after that match because you're going up against Will Ospreay, and last couple of years, Ospreay has just not only he's grown up in this business because he went from being the high fly, spot guy to a guy that really has changed his style, and look what it's done for him.
Yeah, and I always have an internal issue. Did I like the aerial assassin Will Ospreay more than I do the heavyweight Will Ospreay? It's kind of the if or and. What did you like better? The flips from when he was first starting out, yeah, his spots were great. You have that iconic flip over flip, and then they just look at each other. Great spot. But then what he's doing now, heavyweight Will Ospreay, the United Empire Will Ospreay, the actual champion, his promos and everything, he's put it all together right now.
Yep. And that was the one thing a lot of us were waiting for it to happen because it said once he slowed down and grew up, he was really going to step up, and that's definitely been the case. So yeah, so we've gone through everything we needed to talk about. Again, great weekend this past weekend wrestling. I mean, you had a phenomenal pay-per-view from All Elite Wrestling, lots of news in New Japan.
You know what? Let me take a hot stance real quick on this AEW Full Gear pay-per-view.
Go ahead.
There was something I forgot to mention about Full Gear, and that's something that I've seen a lot on the IWC. Everybody is hating on the Inner Circle versus American Top Team storyline, the match at Full Gear, everything. Apparently, this has been a real sore spot for everybody in the IWC. And I understand. I get it. Trust me. As a wrestling fan, I don't want to see MMA guys come in there and throw horrible-looking elbows that are connecting with the air 15 foot in front of somebody's face. I get it. They looked worse than when the Dark Order had the fake beatdowns where the guy was basically just punching at his own arm.
Yep.
I get it. But to say that the match at Full Gear was bad, or that was the bathroom break match, or that was your snack break match, there was so many spots in that match that were pure greatness.
Yeah.
Santana using the security guard to jump over the barricade.
Yes.
Amazing. Sammy Guevara doing that top ladder spot. Amazing. The whole Dirty Harry with the metal thing underneath the shirt to withstand the body punch.
Yep.
Amazing. Guys, Junior Dos Santos doing the Samoan drop. Some of these guys actually came in there looking like they were ready to fight.
You're forgetting one very important spot in that match, and that was a guy who was sitting ringside. The Baron von Raschke putting the Iron Claw on Ethan Page. I mean,
how many times has Baron done that? Because those fingers looked calloused like a mother. He just,
But man, it was and it was great to see because they were in Minneapolis, which was a hotbed or one of the main places for the AWA to do their shows and stuff. So you could definitely tell there's a lot of people there who knew who the Baron was.
Exactly.
So it's great. First off, it's great to see a lot of the young fans, recognizing the Baron because he is a true legend in this business. But when he popped on that claw, just the crowd went crazy. And then the way that match needed to end was the way that it ended. And that was with Jericho getting the pin on Dan Lambert.
And the Eddie tribute going into the pin. And for those of you guys,
yes,
newer watchers, newer listeners, newer to the wrestling community, Saturday was the anniversary of Eddie Guerrero's death. He did pass in Minneapolis. That was why Full Gear was literally littered all over the card with Eddie Guerrero tributes.
Yep.
But for Chris Jericho, at the end, that got me right in the heart. I'd be lying to you guys if I said I didn't shed a tear after he just looks up.
I believe it.
But yeah, for everybody in the IWC that's killing the storyline, that killed the match, understand, you guys, we say it all the time. You can like what you like. You can not like what you don't like. That's fine. We here have lots of different opinions from each other. All three of us, when, Joey K is here, instead of handing out lethal injections, we all differ from opinion at times. But we're able to talk through it like the way we're supposed to. We listen to each other and you respect each other's answers.
Yep.
You don't just try to bury somebody for their opinions, which is what the IWC does. But understand that match served a purpose. It was service to everybody involved. Everybody goes off looking good. If it wasn't something that you didn't enjoy, you didn't like the storyline, you didn't like the match, that's fine. Don't kill it for the people who actually did enjoy parts of the match, parts of the story, the tributes, everything that went through it. Because at the end of the day, everybody stepped in there and did what they needed to do.
And isn't that what, should be can't go on in a wrestling match?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, yeah, I'm gonna be with you. Like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed that match for what it was, and yeah, like I said, the way that match needed to end is the way that it ended, and and I'm sure that this is probably going to be it for the storyline. And it was a nice little run for what it was, and if it was, you know what? Shout out to Dan Lambert, because that guy there knows how to draw heat.
Yes. As much as us Marks hated him, the man cut a hell of a promo. He cut promos like a mother. I enjoyed his promos.
Yeah, I'm with you on that and stuff. And, we've made our opinions pretty well known on the IWC. I think they're a lot of what's wrong with pro wrestling and stuff, but shout out to Dana Brooks' fiance for taking care of one of those trolls out there, and just, it's one thing to sit there and bash someone and, sit behind a keyboard, be what I think the proper term out there is a keyboard warrior, but you better be able to back up what you say on Twitter, because you never know what's going to happen as a result. I mean, you want to sit there
that has those hands.
Yeah. And it's just, I'm not going to sit there and use my, Facebook or my Twitter to sit there and bash something, mercilessly, because these men and women out there, they're just like you and I. They're going out there, they're doing their job, they're trying to pay their bills, they're trying to feed their families, they're trying to provide their families with the best life they can. And you know what? Not everybody is, going to be like the best at something and that. But I mean, people say, and this is kind of going back to how that whole little incident started, with someone bashing Dana Brooke. Is Dana Brooke the greatest women's wrestler out there? No. But at least she gets out there and she tries. She's putting in the work, just
exactly.
And for that, I respect her, and I respect everyone because I know I couldn't go out there and do what these men and women do.
No, we're not in the ring. We're not between the ropes as much as the Marks nowadays. And I use that with myself included. The Marks and the smart Marks, we've gotten to see so much of the wrestling product behind the scenes now than we ever have. We've gotten to peek behind Gorilla. We've gotten to learn the terms. We've gotten to know everything that we I think we blur the lines ourselves between thinking that this is actually possible for everyone to do when it's not. This is not ballet. This is pro wrestling.
Yep.
The 100% difference. You have people who've trained all their youth to go through and do what they're doing. You have people who pick it up in a year or two and are able to do what they're doing amazingly. But that's the whole thing. It takes time. It takes dedication. And these people still get injured. These people still have moves that miss at times. They still have things that may not have gotten performed 110% right. But the thing is they're doing this day in and day out every night. And when they go to file their taxes at the end of the year, they can say professional wrestler, when all of us, could say either, hey, office worker, I do this or that. So unless you could say that you're, professional wrestler on your taxes, don't criticize people in the ring.
Or if you're going to do it, at least be man enough and stand by instead of, being a keyboard warrior and thinking you're all that behind your keyboard, and then being the exact opposite, in person.
Shooters, trust and believe. The day I meet Jorge Conti, I'm stepping up to my words. I will take that ass beating if it's going to come my way. If he's really, better off than I think he is and he whoops that candy ass, I'll put up a fight. He's going to go one-on-one with the hot one, and he may not walk away. But in the event that I get my ass taken apart and I get beat up, you take it like a man and walk away.
Yeah, but sitting in the fetal position is not called taking it like a man.
I'm just going to tap out before he even touches me. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be at the ground. I'm like, hey, I tapped. Yeah. You have to stop. I tapped.
Yeah, and I'm going to be there ringside for that one. And that's alrighty, guys. Well, that's all the time we got for this episode of Shooting Shit. I want to thank you for watching us, and obviously, since we're only two of the 3-man team here. We don't have our usual layout with our socials on there. So, how can people reach out to you?
Ladies and gentlemen, I have been and always will be on Twitter at DFW Chairman. See my pinned tweets about Moose. See my pinned tweet about Scotty Too Hottie, Moose. All of it is there. Let's see. Facebook. My given name is Javon Minacho. That's how you can find me on Facebook. I'm part of all these wonderful wrestling groups. At times I interact. Sometimes I do prediction leagues. Sometimes I sell stuff online, various autographs and crap that I have. So you can find me there. Drop me a DM. Drop me a DM in Twitter. Tweet me out a question.
Slide into his DMs. Slide into his DMs.
Slide into the DMs. You know, do it all of the above. Hit the show page at Shooting SHT on Twitter. Get us all. Fill in DDJ's inbox with hate mail. DDJ, where can they find you?
Why would you want them to fill my inbox with hate mail?
Because I've gotten hate mail once or twice. It's okay.
Okay, but that's still not a good enough reason to tell people to fill my inbox with hate mail.
We all have to get it. You know what? No. You can send all hate mail to at Joe Coon.
Tell him to stop watching the replay of Jay Lethal's AEW debut.
Or you can find him on Facebook under Joe Coon. DM him all your hate mail. Joe Coon.
Yeah. And hopefully you do that and we get Joe Coon back on next week's episode. We love you, Joe.
That's right, Joey K. We love you. I will see you, Joey K, and the rest of our shooters that will be at the Ring of Honor final battle in December. I'll be there. You see me, beer me.
Hear him. And if you want to reach out to me on social media, you can get a hold of me on Facebook at Dennis W. Day Jr. And you can get a hold of me on Twitter at Dennis W. Day Jr. If there's something you want to, if you want us to discuss on the show, please reach out to one of us. Reach out to our show's Twitter handle. Leave a comment on wherever you get your podcast, or leave a comment on the our YouTube page.
Give us a 5-star review on Apple.
Yeah, 5-star review on Apple. And go to teespring.com and buy a shirt from us. Buy a Shooting Club shirt. Buy a Jay Minacho shirt. Or buy a 5-star Trivia Machine DDJ shirt, man. Or
the Real Hill, the premier Joey K shirts out there.
Yeah, if you run out of ditch rags, buy one of those.
I think I'll make one. We'll have to make one soon that says Joey K is ROH.
Yeah. And then we'll me and you will get shirts that say we're all elite.
We're all elite.
And that's but alrighty, guys. Thanks again for listening to the show, and we'll see you in 1 week's time, man. This has been Shooting Shit. Do not forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Follow the show on Twitter at SHOOTINSHT, and thanks for listening.